There's been a lot said about your theatrical style. Everyone is analyzing it. We know a lot about it. But I want to speak about it today in terms of Turandot, which we have on the stage here, because it's a bit of an interesting piece, isn't it, in the context of all operas. It brings us back to the times when opera was a fairy tale, a myth, you know, because with people like Giuseppe Verdi, you get to see real people suffering on stage. He gets a courtesan on the stage. Here we have something that's completely imagined and completely unnatural in a way. How do you feel that fits your world of theatre that you've been doing in your life?
My world of theatre is everything is unnatural.
Yes.
To me, to be on stage is not like being on the street or being even in the auditorium of a theater. It's not like being at home. You don't walk the same way you walk on the street. You don't sing the way you sing in a shower. You don't sit the way you sit waiting for a bus, because the stage is different. The light is different. The floor is different. Everything about it's different. And Japanese believe that the gods are beneath the floor. So it's something artificial. I hate naturalism in the theater because I think it's about a lie.
Yes.
And that if you accept being on stage as something artificial, it always seems more natural than when you try to act naturally. So if we accept it as something artificial, perhaps you can be more honest about what you're doing.
5 years ago, I think, when you were here, you gave a lecture to those who were interested to hear about your theatre. And I remember very vividly you said the most important thing, apart from the fact that in a performance, the first second is the most important and the last one, but also for whoever who is on the stage, how you stand on the stage.
Yeah.
You mentioned that
you have
even
to learn
such
to
a little
stand
thing,
on the stage. And the problem is that in all the schools I know, I don't know it an exception, there's no time spent in learning to stand. It's the most difficult thing to do, is to stand on a stage. And you have to learn it, and people take it for granted. You learn to stand by standing or falling down. You learn to walk by walking. You can read books about it, you can talk about it, but you've got to get up and do it. And you learn to walk on the stage by, again, falling down. But you have to learn it. And it's my theater, which is a formal theater, especially. And the problem with most schools of acting, most schools of drama, there's no training for standing or walking or doing the simplest thing. And a production like this is quite static for the most part, with the exception of Ping Pang Pong. So they're the counterpoint. They're moving and move throughout the space, the entire piece, as a kind of counterpoint. And they're like the principles, the opera, in terms of chorus, most of the singers are like a building, and against this building you see trees. And buildings and trees are classical architecture. But cities are made of, or buildings and trees. That's what the Greek drama was made of, buildings and trees. You had a chorus and a protagonist and an antagonist in front. So you have, in classical ballet, you have a corps de ballet, and you have a prima ballerina. And that is a tree in front of a building. So this is classically constructed in that sense.
Yes. I think it's very interesting that you mention architecture as an art form. Would it be correct to call you more of an architect, actually?
Theater should be architectural.
Yeah.
So it used to be, in ancient times, architectural. And now it's become, I don't know what. People go to school and study theater decoration, burden the schools of theater decoration. We don't need them. Theater sets, props, costumes should be architectural. All the arts are in what we call opera or opus. If we go back to the Latin sense of the word, the ancient meaning, opera means work or opus. So it's poetry, it's dance, it's music, it's light, it's painting. All of the arts can be under the title of what we call opera, opus, work.
And
It's no place for decoration.
Absolutely. And I remember you said also something very interesting, that all of your work is opera, basically. Even
all of the work in that, all of my work in that sense is opera.
Is opera. Yeah.
So that what I see is not decoration, but is architectural. With its light, almost always I start with light first. So it's not dependent on a text, it's not dependent on music. It can be independent. And in fact, I had a meeting yesterday about a work I'm going to do at La Scala. And maybe have a scene that with no one singing, but we just see the light changing, because the light is thought about independently. When I made Einstein on the Beach, the opera with Philip Glass, I drew the light for the whole production first. It was the structure.
Before anything else.
Before anything else. So usually people write an opera, direct an opera, and then 2 weeks before they light it. What if you lit first? I'm starting a new opera here, and I will start with light. I don't need a text. I don't need music. I can create a space with light, and that can be a starting point. So it's not an afterthought, it's the first thought.
Yes, now
it should be with all architecture.
With everything, yes.
With architecture.
Yes. I was going to ask you about this new opera that is going to premiere, I think, in 2 years in September. At least that's the plan, where you will be collaborating with our own composer, Gyva.
Yes.
And isn't it infinitely exciting to be creating something in a team together? This immediately brings me back to Einstein on the Beach and your collaboration with Philip Glass that you mentioned a little bit. So it's very thrilling, isn't it, to have this
What's
creative
exciting
process.
about to make a new work is that you can start with a complete blank book. You have nothing. And so there's no preconceived idea.
Yes.
And that's exciting.
coming back to Turandot now. Who is Turandot to you? Is it a chess piece, a symbol,
I don't know
a
who
color?
Turandot is, and she. We go back to the ancient, this is a very old story. It goes back to Persian myth. So in Persian myth, she was an evil woman. It's a love story. So this love story involves Turandot. But my work is multifaceted. So characters can be very simple and one-dimensional, but beneath that they're also complex. It's like a prism of personas, a prism of different moods, different colors, under a simple surface of an evil woman. Yeah.
Yes. And I slipped into the rehearsal yesterday, watched a little bit of it, and I've noticed that you have made some changes, some very subtle things that you've changed from how we've seen the production 5 years ago. Do you do that often with your pieces? Do you like to come back and add things, however small they are, or is sometimes a work done when it's done?
Well, I'm never afraid to change your work. Singers are different, so you adapt to the singer you have. Their bodies are different, the color of their voice is different, and I'm different. I'm different than I was 5 years ago. So yes, I make some changes. Basically, it's the same. And but I would not be opposed to making a drastic change if I felt it was necessary.
Yes.
Yeah. So, my work is never finished and should never be finished. So great works go on and on. This is an old story that's been told many times and been told many different ways. And it's a story that is, in a sense, a part of our psychic unconscious mind. And so it's a story we can share together as common knowledge.
Yes. Yes. I think perhaps that's enough.
Good, great.
And we will let you go now.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.